Right. Right. Okay. So since I was saying, we have covered chapter 6, where we're looking at the overview of the audit process. We have covered chapter 7, where we're looking on the important elements of the audit process. Right. Those two topics that we have covered, they are very essential because it is likely that we'll get some questions from those two topics before we start looking on business cycles. So what we are going to do is, I think, as we are going, but the issue is that I don't usually like us to go back and study them like in class and discuss the, what do you call it, those topics like chapter 3, which looks about which includes the issue of directors, which it mostly talks about the Companies Act, chapter 3, including the conduct of directors, how directors can be appointed, dismissed, and a lot of things. Then chapter 4, the one that talks about the issue of corporate governance. Right? So when we are talking about those topics, I usually want us to use questions. For example, we are going to revisit the issue of corporate governance, but we are going to revisit it using a question. For example, in this question paper, question 1 was about corporate governance and Companies Act. This is how we are going to remind each other about this information. But it is very necessary that after we have done such questions on corporate governance or on Companies Act, that is chapter 3 and chapter 4, it is important that you don't only study the area that has been asked in the exam, because next time, this is a past paper. Next time they can change, they can look at the other section. So it is important that you look at everything. It is important that you even go through those sections, those chapters, so that you can understand other different aspects. For example, when it comes to corporate governance, they can ask you about applying the application of principles of corporate governance, or they can ask you about the formation, the formation of the board of directors, or they can ask you about committees. So it is important that we discuss every aspect. So now we understand that the issue of Companies Act, the issue of corporate governance is also included at this level. Then the issue of ethics, that one we always talk about it because we discussed it in chapter 6. Right. Then now at this level, the other thing is that now I also want us to discuss the business cycles using questions that can make it fast for us. So for today, I want us to discuss question 3 and question 4, because on business cycles, we have several business cycles, right? We have the revenue and the receipt cycle, we have the acquisition and payment cycle, we have the inventory production cycle, and the others. So we need to know how we test the controls in these cycles and how we perform substantive procedures in these cycles. Because remember now that a business structure of any business, it is made up of these 5 business cycles. So this is where. So when we are looking at the control environment of the client, when we are performing risk assessment procedures, we are performing risk assessment procedures to oversee how effective are the internal controls of the client over these business cycles, which are the revenue and receipt cycle, and the other ones which we are going to discuss about. So what is important now is that the activities in each cycle, there are controls that are that are designed and implemented on each control, meaning that the effectiveness of the controls that are implemented in these business cycles or in each business cycle, they are the ones, the effectiveness of these internal controls will help to reduce the risk of material misstatement, whether either at let's say at assertion level mostly, and even at a financial statement level. So we needed to understand about each business cycle. At this level, they are no longer asking about the characteristics of, for example, revenue and receipt cycle. They are no longer asking about the functions of each cycle. They are no longer asking about the documents that are used in each cycle, but it is necessary for us to revisit so that we are aware of, for example, when we are testing controls, which documents are we likely to look after? Or when we are performing substantive procedures, which documents are we, or functions, are we going to look specifically look after so that we can obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence? Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight to you some of the content, for example, the theory from the textbook that we need to understand in general about each cycle. For example, the revenue and cycle, for example, with regards to test of controls, right? So that you are able to see how we can extract a test of control or a substantive procedure on each cycle. For example, I'm going to highlight to you the sections that you need to go through on each cycle. For example, on you can, I think it is important that since we are recording though, but it is important that when we are doing a class, we have your notebook where you need to be writing some of the aspects that we are discussing. Right. Because we were talking about in chapter 7, we're talking about the overall audit strategy. Okay. And we say that the overall strategy sets the scope, it sets the scope, it says the scope, the direction. What is the other aspect? The scope, the direction, and the timing of our audit process. Then we say that an overall strategy works hand to hand with the audit plan. So the overall strategy helps us to draft an audit plan, where in an audit plan, we're going to have plan number 1 that is going to contain, or where we are going to perform risk assessment procedures, right? So plan number 1, it gives us, or it says the nature, the timing, and extent of the risk assessment procedures. These risk assessment procedures, we are performing them so that we can understand that which areas of the client may contain high portions of high risk of material misstatements. So that after that we have analyzed that, what we are going to do is, this is going to give us on plan number 2, this is going to give us this is going to help us to determine the nature, the timing, and the extent of planned further and other audit procedures. that we are going to perform on plan number 2. So remember that internal or test of controls, on risk assessment procedures, we can use test of controls, right? Test of controls can be done, depending on the client, can be done at interim visits before the year end, right? Of the client that we are auditing. We can visit the client here and there, or surprise visits to a client, so that we can test the controls of the client. But depending on the type of the client or the nature of the client, on other companies or other clients, large clients like a bank, we can do it continuously until the financial year end. All right. So now, when we are talking about plan number 2, that deals with the nature, the extent, the nature, the timing, and the extent of planned further and other audit procedures. We are performing now these procedures so that we can assess, right, or we can identify the risks of material misstatement at assertion level, right? At assertion level, where now we need to look at the effectiveness of these controls in each of business cycle. Because remember, all the transactions that are going to be included in the financial statements of the client are from these business cycles, right? So when you go to chapter 10, chapter 10 deals with the revenue and its cycle, which is the one that we are going to talk about today. You are going to see that we have the acquisitions and payment cycle. We have the revenue and receipt cycle. We have the inventory and production cycle. We have the payroll and personnel cycle. We have the finance and investment cycle. And in each of these cycles, we have internal controls, right? So it is possible that a question can come to us just to ask how, just to perform the test of controls on each of these cycle, right? And also just to perform the substantive procedures on each of these cycle. Okay, so we are going to see how best we are going to do this. So if you have a notebook with you, I want you to write down that from what do you call it? From page, what do you call it? Yeah, from chapter 10, chapter 10, page 50. Chapter 10, page 50, that's where you are going to deal with audit procedures, which includes test of controls and substantive tests, right? So these are test of controls and these are audit procedures that are dealing specifically with the revenue and receipt cycle. So we are going to learn about the objectives. What are the objectives of the test of controls in revenue and the receipt cycle? What is the timing of the test of controls in revenue and receipt cycle? What is the nature of the test of controls in revenue and receipt cycle, right? The same with substantive procedures. You need to know what is the nature of the substantive procedures that we are going to perform in revenue and receipt cycle. Then the timing also about the substantive procedures that we are going to perform within this cycle, as well as the extent of the substantive procedures that we are going to perform in this cycle. Then you can also be able to see how do we perform procedures of transactions in the revenue and receipt cycle. So this will help us a lot. Okay. So today I want us to look at question 3 and question 4. You should use questions for us to be, because if a question is coming or with regards to any of the business cycle at this level, it is asking about performing tests of controls on that business cycle, or performing substantive procedures on that cycle. That is why I want us to deal with business cycles using questions. Okay. So this question paper, it is saying read the required part on page 9 and 10 before continuing. So we are going to page 9 and 10 now. So this is how we approach the question paper, right? So this is a strategy. They have seen that it does not confuse the student. So if you want not to be confused and to be able to not lose the content that you have, just follow the instructions of this paper. When you hold your paper in the examination, just go straight to this section. It will tell you. If you start to approach your question, it will tell you case study. Read the required part on page 9 and 10 before continuing, which means you must not just start reading the case study before reading what the required part. The first thing is to read the required part. So this is what we are going to do. Let's go to the required part. This is the required part. Number 1. You see what they are saying now? They're saying with reference to the background information, which means we understand that we are going to answer question 1, we are going to deal with the information that is on the background. So we go straight to the background paragraph. We go straight to the background paragraph. Yes, the background paragraph. For you to answer question 1 now, you read your background information. Then you end there. Just background information. Then you go back to your question. As you will be reading, since you have read the question. So if they say, okay, I'm just trying to give you an example. So they say, with the reference to the background information, 1.1, criticize the proposals in terms of the body subcommittees to improve electoral world corporate governance compliance in terms of the King 4 report and corporate governance for South Africa 2016. You are not required to suggest solutions, which means now, if you are going back to your background information, you are going to realize, okay, you're going to see how the body had formed their subcommittees. Then on your side, with knowing how the body should comply, or how the client should comply with the principles of corporate governance, 2016, it is now is for you. As you will be reading, you will be identifying where the body was not in compliance with the requirements of corporate governance, right? Then from there we go to the next question as we go, right? But unfortunately today we are not talking about this. We are going to revise this, talk about these questions on another time, because it is about corporate governance and Companies Act, and we are seeing that most of the question papers we see, they are including this information. So we are going to discuss about them at some time. Then question 2. Then today we want to focus on question 3, as I've been saying. Now let's look on question 3. Now they are saying, with reference to working paper 001, formulate the test of controls that you will perform to test the operating effectiveness of automated internal controls when a sales transaction from a fulfilled sales order for a customer buying on a credit is recorded in the financial statements. When using test data, limit your answer to invalid test data. 11 marks, communication skills, appropriate style, 1 mark. So now we are going to read working paper 001. Then we can formulate the test of controls that we will perform to test the operating effectiveness of automated internal controls, because they are automated internal controls. So how are we going to test them, right? With regards to what? with regards to a sale transaction from a fulfilled sales order for a customer buying in credit. That is when that credit is recorded in the financial statement. So when they say, when using test data, limit your answer to invalid test data. Right. This is also the other thing that will help us to draft appropriate or relevant internal control. Because they're saying when test data, meaning that maybe there are other actions, right? We are going to see, we are going to apply this test data. We are going to see it practically from the question. So they are saying that test data. So it means that we are testing the data if this data is corresponding with the aim of the internal control, or with the purpose of the effectiveness of internal control, right? Meaning that if we are to limit our answer to invalid test data, it means that we will perform a test of control that will test whether so for example, we would try to enter information sometimes that is not correct, for example, in the system, right? We try to enter a figure, for example, that is not correct. Or that is above the credit limit. Because remember, when the revenue and receipt cycle, it deals with sales transaction and credit sales. So the sales that are made in the revenue and receipt cycle, they can be cash sales or they can be credit sales. Because a business can make transactions whether from a credit or a cash sale. So that is why here they're saying for a customer buying on credit, meaning that when a customer is buying in credit, there is a credit limit that we need to give, right, as a company. So we can enter a higher credit limit for a certain client or customer, so that we see if the system is going to give credit to that client. So here I'm trying to explain this issue of saying when using test data, limit your answer to invalid test data. Okay. So let's go to working paper 001. Then we can start formulating our test of controls. Right. So I want us to take this. So I'm going to take, we are going to be revising these, what do you call them? 2020. So it's these past papers, October, it's January, February 2025. January, February 2025. January, February 2025. So what we are going to do is we're going to start with question 3 for today. Okay. And relevant marks are for here. Right. Let's just underline this, sharp like this. Then we start formulating our test of controls. Right, like so. So let's go to, let me zoom a little bit. Yeah. So let's go to working paper 001. So we are here now. So just go straight to this section of the paragraph that you need to answer the question. So here there's a revenue and receipts business process. That is the revenue and receipt cycle. This is the working paper. Client, Electro year 31 December 2024, prepared by TRN. Preparation date 18 January 2025, reviewed by manager. Review date, subject, revenue and receipts, business processes, working paper 001. Electro exclusively sells its products to registered customers by means of card payments or on credit through the company's website. The following is a description of the process of sales transaction made on credit. The credit approval process is integral to the company's revenue generation strategy, as it mitigates the risk of non-payment, ensures that only customers with a proven credit history can buy on credit. Right. So this is one of the controls. We can now start testing our controls here. Okay, because they are saying the credit approval process, because it is not every client that should be given a credit or where goods should be sold on credit. We should not sell goods on credit to every client. So now they are saying we should need to approve to see if they. So it's like these customers or these clients, they do credit application to see whether they should be given or whether we should sell to them on credit. So now the credit approval process is integral to the company's revenue generation strategy as it mitigates the risk of non-payment and ensures that only customers with a proven credit history can buy on credit. So, which fund is this? Oh, it's since okay, it's soon, okay, sharp. So now they're telling us that the customers that are being given goods on credit, they are proven for credit, right? So when we are formulating our internal controls, look at this statement that says, when using test data, limit your answer to invalid test data. So it's not every test of control that we are going to apply test data, right? There are some of the test of controls where it is not possible for us, or it is not relevant for us to use invalid test data or to use test data. Okay. Some of them we just test. We just test the process as it is, or the control as it is. We don't need to review that using any invalid data. Okay. So for example, for this one, what can we do? So this is where I was saying that if you go to chapter 10, page 50, you understand in general about the nature of test of controls. When we are talking about the nature of test controls, we are talking which test of controls should we use? Is it inspection? Is it observation? Is it inquiry? That is what we need to understand. So those are some of the test of controls that we have. Remember, there are procedures that can be used as substantive procedures. At the same time, they can be used as test of controls. So observation can be used as a substantive procedure and can be used at the same time as internal control. Inspection can be used as internal control at the same time. It can be used as a substantive procedure. Okay, so here, what are we going to do? They are telling us that the credit approval process is integral to the company's revenue generation strategy as it mitigates the risk of non-payment and ensures that only customers with a proven credit history can buy on credit. So here we can inspect. So what should we inspect? We inspect the documents. Okay, so we can inspect. In this case, we can inspect inspect assemble. So we need to understand the nature of audit itself. Remember, there's an I think it was in chapter 5 somewhere there, or somewhere, I think, yeah, somewhere. When we were talking about the issue of, we never discussed it though, but chapter 5, it includes the issue of sampling. That even when we were talking about audit evidence, ISA 500, I think we mentioned such elements that for us to be able to gather sufficient appropriate audit evidence, we do not work at the whole population. For example, if there are invoices, or yes, invoices, we cannot inspect all the invoices, right? We can only deal with samples, depending on the type of assembling technique that we are applying. So what can we do here? Here we can inspect a sample of that. So they say, as what? Then they say, it mitigates the risk of non-payment and ensure that only customers with a proven credit history can buy on credit. So we can inspect a sample of credit sales. We can inspect a sample of credit sales and trace them. Inspect a sample of credit sales and trace. Okay, and trace the history. Inspect a sample of credit sales and trace the history of the customer. Verify if the credit sales were made to approved. Okay, or say if the credit sales were made to customers with proven credit history. This can be our test of control number 1. Inspect a sample of credit sales, right? With the credit sales, and trace. So we trace the history of each credit sale. Trace the history of the customer to verify if the credit sales were made to customers with proven credit history. Because this is one of the controls that we have in this business process. This is one of the controls. This is one of the, what do you call it? I cannot highlight this thing. I wanted to highlight I'm not sure if it is understandable. How best we can deal with the formulation of test of controls. Okay. Let's go to number 2. Therefore, before customers can purchase products from Electro World on credit, they have to pass the credit approval process. Here we say inspect a sample of credit sales and trace the history of the customer to verify if credit sales if the credit sales were made to customers with proven credit history. It's a mark. That one. And now they are saying, therefore, before customers can purchase products from Electro on credit, they have to pass the credit approval process. So we can say, inspect a sample of credit sales made to check or to verify. Let's say to verify, maybe it's the modern term. Inspect a sample of credit sales made to customers to verify whether um, whether these customers, or what we can do on this one. This one we can say, inspect a sample of credit applications. Okay? Inspect a sample of credit applications to verify if the if the credit applications are authorized by the credit controller. Okay? Words. They are saying before customers can purchase products from Electro World on credit, they have to pass the credit approval process. So we want to verify the credit, what do you call them, applications, the ones they did, so that we can see if they are signatures of the authority that should approve the credit application. That is a test of control. So we're saying number 1, inspect a sample of credit sales and trace the history of the customer to verify if the credit sales were made to customers with proven credit history. Inspect a sample of credit applications to verify if the credit applications are authorized by the credit controller. Right? So you see questions like this, questions like internal test of controls, questions that come and ask you test of controls, substantive procedures. Those are the questions to utilize marks. Why? Because mostly you know that you need to, this is where you apply the auditor's toolbox, and just know your tools, the test of controls and the substantive procedures: inspection, inquiry, observation, recalculation, and reviewing. All those what do you call them? Analytical procedures Yeah, all those procedures. So only that you need to know how to apply it to the question. But these are the questions that are very much simple. Let's go to the other point. Before a customer can browse and place a sales order, the customer should have a registered online account with electoral well, right? So we can perform an internal control, a test of control here, because it is possible that because of fraud, you find out that there are customers that do not have a registered online account with electoral well. So what we need to do is, on this one, before a customer can browse and place a sales order, the customer should have a registered online account with electoral well. So here we can observe, but we can observe an action, we can observe an action, right? Or how can we do this? Observe, we observe what do you call it? The salesperson recording the transaction of the client. Is this going to work? Because we want to see if we want to verify if the customers or the clients of the company have credits, have online accounts. So what should we do here? We can maybe inquire with the approved customers to confirm whether they have active online accounts with electoral well. So still we can inquire a sample of customers. Inquire a sample of approved customers. Inquire a sample of approved customers to confirm whether they have active online accounts with electoral well, right? But what if they can lie to us? But they, so for us to so yeah, what if a client lies to us that what if a customer lies to us that they have but you will still verify from the system of the client. So we can inquire a sample of approved customers to confirm whether they have active online accounts in the electoral world. If yes, verify uh, the account from Electro World system. Right. The other processing, once they have registered, customers may log on to the website by entering a unique username and password. Okay, that is fine. Then this is the customer. When creating a password, stringent password policies in terms of the length and complexity. For example, the use of alphabetic characters, numeric digits, and the special character of the password are enforced. Okay. This is about the client, the customers. So maybe they will be creating these passwords on their side. So I don't think this is going to affect any of the controls of electoral, because this is how the customer should do on their side. After entering the correct username and password to verify the customer's identity. Okay, okay, which means from the side of what do we call it? From the side of electoral world, they will need each client's information, like the details, so that they can verify the identity. Okay, so now they are saying, after entering the correct username and password to verify the customer's identity and reduce the risk of unauthorized access, multi-factor authentication is applied each time the customer logs in by sending the customer a once-off code via SMS. Okay, so let's start here. Let's go back here. When they have registered, customers may log on to the website by entering a unique username and password. So we can here you can just select sample of customer accounts and enter the username and password, verify if it gives the correct customer identity, comparing to the, all right. Okay. Select a sample of customer's account of approved, let's say of approved customer accounts. Select a sample of approved customer accounts and enter the username and password to verify if it gives the correct customer identity. Here they say, when creating a password stringent, password policies, okay, when creating a password, stringent password policies in terms of length and complexity, example, the use of alphabetic characters, numeric digits, and the special character of the password are enforced. So here we need to uh, here we need to observe uh, credit controller, for example, accessing a symbol of approved customer, customer, customer's account, customer's accounts, verify if the passwords are not complex. Now, after entering the correct username and password to verify the customer's identity and reduce the risk of unauthorized access, multi-factor authentication is applied each time the customer logs in by sending the customer a once-off code via SMS. So we can inspect, observe, and observe the credit controller inspect the credit controller uh, okay, after entering the correct username and password to verify the customer's identity and reduce the risk of another multi-factor is applied to at each time, right? Observe a credit controller entering the correct username and password, entering the correct username and password, entering the correct username, entering the correct username and password, right? Um, of the client multi-factor authentication is applied each time the customer logs in by sending the customer a once-off code by SMS, right? To verify if the customer will receive a client, let me say, and inquire with the client, with the customer, and inquire with the customer if if it receives a once off code via SMS, receives a once off code via SMS. So piece of controls, they are very simple. Eh? Are you still there? It's like I'm alone now.
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Yeah, you're there.
Yes.
But are we flowing? You see how we can best draft the controls. Okay, sharp. Let's move on because we still need to go to question 4. So I think it's continuing. The question paper is continuing. What do we call it? The working paper. Now they say SMS to the cell phone number of the customer, which is registered in what electronic database. Okay. Now they say the customer enters the once-off code to obtain access to the electro world e-commerce. Okay. Now we say here, observe a credit controller entering the correct username and password of the client and inquire. Okay, let's say to identify. Okay, here they say to do what? Here they say to verify customer's identity. All right, to verify customers' identity, and inquire. Now we need to inquire with the customer if it receives once-off code via SMS and if had managed to access to the e-world electronic website, to access to the what do they call it? Access to the electronic world e-commerce, to access to the electronic world world e-commerce. Now they are saying the customer's account is automatically logged off if there has been no activity on the account for more than 10 minutes. So here it depends. In processes like this, it depends whether you want to use invalid test data or just use valid test data. So what can we do on this one? We can leave the account. Okay, leave the account for the customer for more than 10 minutes, né? Right? Leave the customer's account, or let's say log into a symbol of customers accounts and perform no okay log into a symbol of customers account and and leave it for 10 minutes or more than 10 more than 10 minutes or more than 10 minutes uh, without performing an activity to verify if the account will log off. Okay. Right? After successfully logging into the website, customers browse the product and add items to a virtual shopping cart. So we can inquire, assemble of customers if they are able to add items to a virtual shopping cart. Add items to a
Sorry, can I
yes,
request that I check the, because I did not check the mark allocation
allocation. Okay,
for
okay,
this. I want to check is how many marks, and then I will then want to ask a question in
okay.
terms of the
So
marks.
on my allocation, it's 11. It's question 3, no? It's 11 marks. Then communication skills appropriate style, 1 mark.
Okay, if it's 11, it means that you need to provide 11 answers.
Yes, mostly on internal controls like this. It is mostly like that. That you see where we still we can find out that we can perform more than this. But once we, for example, if we can see that we manage to get 10 controls, we can or 11 control test of controls, we can leave because already we have 10 marks. Already have 11 marks.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So here we want to see if the customers we inquire with them. Inquire a sample of customers if they are able to add items to a virtual shopping cart. To a virtual shopping cart. Uh, Once they have successfully logged in, right? Shopping cart, once they have successfully logged in, once they are successfully logged in, now let's say for each product selected, the customer may increase or decrease the quantity by picking on the minus. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Remember, the other thing is that our question, we should not go out of the context of our question. What the question is saying, formulate the test of control that you will perform to test the operating effectiveness of automated internal controls when sales transaction from a fulfilled sales order for a customer buying on credit is recorded in a financial statement. All right, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. Okay, sure. We are right. So for each product selected, the customer may increase or decrease the quantity by clicking on the minus or plus symbols next to the quantity. So we can also inquire with the customer to verify whether they are able to add or minus the products. That is to see the effectiveness of the system. Of the, yeah. All right, let's leave that one. The total of the sales order is automatically calculated by multiplying the quantity selected with the price of the product, which is extracted from the electronic approved product price list on the database. After receiving their card, customers proceed to check out. Okay. For customers buying on credit before the sales order is finalized, the following is verified through validation checks.
Sorry,
Hmm.
sorry, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
The previous one that says the the total sales order is automatically calculated. So
Mm-hmm.
I am not. I think that should we not perform there in terms of the calculations?
In terms of the
Maybe test the
calculations.
test the system that is calculating correct
Mhm. So the
quantities.
system is calculating the correct quantities. Ne? All
Yes,
right.
and sales price.
Okay, no problem. Let's do that. So let's do this. Um, let's what do you call it? Inspect. We can inspect the symbol of um, recorded cells, recorded cells, and compare them with uh, customer orders, customer orders to verify if uh, the system, verify if the system, to verify if the system calculates selling prices and quantities, quantities accurately.
Okay.
Mm-hmm,
You see that when we saying inspect a sample of recorded sales,
mm-hmm.
uh, um, should we not maybe explaining further to say which document, maybe audit document in terms of the sales that
Into the cell.
we are referring to? I'm not sure. It can be an
Okay,
invoice,
let's say
maybe invoice
recorded sales.
generated.
Well, here I think their invoices are going to be electronic, né? So we inspect a symbol of recorded sales invoices.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay, you are right there. Sales invoices, etc. And compare them with customer orders to
Yes,
verify
yes.
if the system calculates the selling price and quantities accurately.
Also maybe or and also compare maybe with the proof of payments generated electrically.
Yeah, those are the invoices.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, sharp. Now let's continue. Let's continue. So we are here now where they say, okay. For customers buying on credit before the sales order is finalized, The following is verified through validation checks for customers buying on credit before the sales order is finalized. The following is verified. The following is verified through validation checks: that the customer has been credit approved and that the customer's account is not in arrears. The product availability in real time to ensure accurate inventory before allowing the order to proceed. So I think for customers buying on credit, right, before the sales order is finalized, the following is verified through validation checks: that the customer has been, right? So we verify. Here, what do we do? We verify. We verify um, for customers buying on credit uh, before the sales order is finalized. The following is verified through validation checks: that the customer has been credit approved. So verify, assemble. Here we can say inspect. Assemble of customers buying on credit. Buying on credit before sales are finalized. Okay. So I say inspect, assemble of customers buying on credit before sales are finalized. To verify if the customer has been has been credit approved. Let's say if the customer is credit approved. Was term the way we our terms the terms we use also may also speak. Okay, is approved, and that the customer and that's the customer account is not in arrears.
Okay. Maybe the other one. I'm just thinking. I'm not sure whether I'm correct or not.
Mhm.
I was thinking in terms of the just to confirm that the
Yeah,
customer is maybe they check the maybe to check the history of the customer that has never been
credit approved,
yes, maybe has been never been
approved before.
blacklisted in
Okay,
terms of
okay.
yes, something like that.
If they credit, but on this one, the way we are formulating these internal controls, we are formulating these internal controls in relation to the business
Okay.
processes system of this client. We are following the system of the client.
Okay, so meaning that what I'm saying, what
Mm.
I'm saying, maybe it was gonna work if we were confirming that a customer before is being approved. If the question was saying how do they do before the customer
Before
is
the
being
customer is
approved? Yes,
all right.
yes.
But if on the first of the first controls that we look at, I think that is one of the it's related to that one we are talking about, where they were saying that where they said let's go back there. It's related to what you're saying. Where they say they said the customer They said the credit approval process is integral to the customer's revenue generation strategy, as it mitigates the risk of non-payment, right? The risk of non-payment. So the risk of non-payment is the one that can result to a customer being blacklisted, you know. So
Yes.
that is why they use the credit approval process, and ensures that only customers with a proven credit history can buy on credit. Which means if you want to be blacklisted, they can see your credit history.
Okay. No, thank you.
Hence,
I'm covered.
hence here we said that was our first test. Hence here we said inspect a symbol of credit sales and trace the history of the customer to verify if the credit sales were made to customers with proven credit history. So that's how we
Okay.
understand
Okay.
that part.
Perfect.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so here we are saying not in arrears. Then here they are saying that product availability in real time to ensure accurate inventory before allowing the order to proceed. Now they are saying once the sales order is validated, it is confirmed by the customer by clicking on the accept button on the website, and an email is sent to the customer with a copy of the sales order. So we can what can we do with this? Because here we can inquire a customer.
Maybe we can observe.
Because if we say observe, what happens is that well the person who is making a transaction is not, maybe sometimes we cannot see that what is the customer is choosing from our system, from our
Yes.
electronic e-commerce. Sometimes we cannot see because this is something that is automatically generated. So once the client has completed picking the goods, and once the sales order is validated, then we click accept. Then we accept. It's the customer who is doing this. So we might not be seeing all this.
Okay. You know, ne,
Mm,
while you are still there,
mm,
can I ask you that? Um, if maybe we say, or maybe we said at the beginning, or maybe in one of the answers that us, like as the auditor, we create an account
mm.
maybe to act as an customer. You understand?
This we create an account to act as a customer. That might be not necessary because that is
Okay.
why yeah, that is why we need to, you see, we need to inquire. Right.
Yes,
So
yes,
you
yes.
know what we can do here? Here, because they are saying once the sales order is validated, it is confirmed by the customer by clicking to the accept button on the website, and an email is sent to the customer with a copy of the sales order. So we can inquire with the customer to verify if the customer will receive, or if customers are receiving an email, né, with a copy of the sales order. The warehouse is not
Okay.
notified to prepare the sales order for dispatch accordingly. So we can inquire with the client, with the customer, whether after after their sales have been validated, are they receiving a, an email with a copy of the sales order?
Okay. No, I understand it now. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so that is why you see we have inquiry as a procedure. Because now, if we create our account and act as a customer now, there is no longer independence. Remember our ethical requirements.
Yes.
There will be a compromising of ideas and interests. So we can say, inquire with a custom. Verify if they receive if they receive they receive emails. They receive emails. mm, with a copy of the source order. They receive emails with a copy.
So so should we not include something like maybe sample inquire with
Yeah,
or
yeah,
sample customers or
yeah.
something?
That one is very right. You're very right. Inquire with a sample of customers. Né? Inquire with a sample of customers. Yes. Inquire with a sample of customers to verify if they receive emails with a copy of the sales order after um, let's say once the sales order is validated. Once sales order is validated, and the sales order is validated, right, right. Once the sales is validated, and once the customer, and once the customer click the accept button. Okay, let's see if we have another. How do you say? After delivery, as soon as the customer acknowledges receipt of the product by signing the delivery note and on an electronic device, the signed delivery note is automatically merged to the sales order and converted to credit sales invoice and recorded as a sales transaction in the financial statements. Okay, so how can we test this? Mm, right, 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 right.
Maybe compare.
Because this one, this process happens once the customer has acknowledged receipt of the product. So
Yes. Maybe we can compare the delivery note, a copy
okay,
of a delivery note with maybe sales or financial records or sales record.
okay. Let's read it again. It's saying after deliver, this is after deliver. As soon as the customer acknowledges the receipt of the product by signing the delivery note on an electronic device, the signed delivery note is automatically matched to the sales order, right? And converted to the credit sales invoice. So what we can do on this one, I think inspecting can be the best because how do we inspect this? Okay, so they say the signed delivery note is automatically matched to the sales order and converted to a credit sales invoice and recorded. as a sales transaction in the uh, financial records. Mm, maybe observe, but if we because when these goods are being received, you won't be available as auditors. We cannot send our one of our audit team to go and observe what is happening with the delivery.
That's why I feel like, to compare, we will be comparing the total amount in the delivery note, and then with the this delivery note is being automatically um,
Generated.
generated, and then is
Mm.
converted to a credit note. So we compare.
This is automatically, so not generated, it is automatically matched to the sales order and converted to a credit sale invoice. Yeah. And recorded
So
as
if
sales
okay,
transaction.
if it's automatically matched, so we can match as well.
Yeah, because this is done by the system.
No, I think we can observe. I think you are right when you say you observe
Mm.
both.
But when we are saying observing, which means what do we do? That what will be the process of observing? Because which means uh, uh, we can ask the people who are delivering, because some agree these companies that we having this online sales, e-commerce,
Yes.
online e-commerce, and maybe they have their vehicles that can deliver the goods to the customers.
I think
But what if?
inspection will be
But what
fine.
if? What if the client is outside of this country? How do we do that? Maybe we can leave it. Let's see how many tests of controls have we performed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We already have 11 here. Let's leave it because that one can be a problem. Let's leave it because we already have 11 contracts.
But for me, I think if I have already 11,
Yeah.
I will just, because I feel like I can't just leave it like that. I will just maybe say something about it, whether it's a
Okay.
wrong or right.
Let's
Just like,
see. Let's see how best we can but it doesn't mean that okay, because yes, it is a control. This one, it is a control for sure. It is a control, so it should be tested.
okay, no.
Mm.
Yeah. Especially when they are saying that it's automatically matched.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Okay.
No, I
I
get you
think,
when,
I
yeah.
think what we can do on this one, and what can we do? Right. We can. Okay. I think this is what we can do. It is very possible. We can inquire with the client that is receiving the goods, with the customer that is receiving the goods. All right. All right. Let's do this. We can um we can inspect. Let's say inspect once
Or how about we confirm
we
the whole
confirm.
process? Yes, the whole
Uh,
process.
but how do we confirm? Right. What I was thinking is, I was thinking that we inspect, right? Once, let's say, what are we going to inspect? Um, okay, because we can say inquire. We can inquire with the a client receiving, let's say, inquire with the customer, because it is possible that we can tell the people on the personnel on delivery to call us once before the client receives the goods. We have that power to tell our client that the personnel on delivery should call us once they have arrived at the delivery site, so that we can observe this, or we can inspect this process in the system. So inquire with the customer. Let's say, let's say, because here we want to see how best we can generate this. We can extract this this what do you call it? This test of control. Because what I'm trying to say is, the personnel on delivery, we can tell them that once we have arrived to the delivery site, tell us, right, as auditors, that we have arrived. Then we confirm with you that the client is signing the delivery note. This is because once the delivery note is signed, that's where everything is starting. Once the delivery note is signed, by signing the delivery note, right, then the signed delivery note is automatically merged. So it's not difficult. Let's just say.
Yeah, so that won't be the to observe.
So it's inspect, inspect.
Okay. Okay.
Let's say inspect. Inspect. The signed delivery note is automatically made to the sales order. Inspect if, okay, inspect the system. Yeah. Let's say inspect the client system. Let's say the audit client. Audit client system during time of goods delivery to customer, to verify whether the signed delivery note is going to automatically match to the sales order. Match to the sales order. Match the sales order, and if it is going to be converted to a credit sales invoice. Credit sales invoice. And if it is going to be recorded as sales, as a sales transaction in the financial record. We are saying inspect the audit client. The system, the audit client is system. The audit client is system. Inspect the audit client system during time of goods delivered to the customer to verify whether the signed delivery note is going to automatically match to the sales order, and if it is going to be converted to a credit sales invoice, and if it is going to be recorded as a sales transaction in the financial records. Right? I think we did well like this. This is how we
Okay.
can
Okay. Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
how we
No.
can perform tests of control. So tests of controls are not difficult. These are one of the questions where we can take all the marks because we are dealing with our test of controls are not. We just know that the nature of our test control includes observation, includes inquiry, includes inspection. That's what we know. But the tests that we are going to formulate are from the situation that we are given in the case study. That's going to help us because already there's a system that is there. So just deal with
Oh,
that system.
okay. Can I ask you, please?
Mm.
Maybe I think we also need to. Maybe we need to. I also need to understand these terms.
Okay, yes.
What are they mean in terms of the edit? When we speak about observe,
Mm.
we are speaking about something that we gonna say in life,
Exactly, exactly. That's observing. Observing, you are seeing. Like you are observing me. You are
doing
observing me
something.
performing a task, doing
Okay.
something. Yes. You're observing me uh, taking taking the goods from the warehouse to a delivery truck, right? Then
Mm.
you want to see if we are going, if I personally, as a warehouse personnel, if I'm going to only load the goods that are in the on the picking slip, am I going to load from the warehouse to the truck? Am I going to load only the goods? So as the auditor, you can be holding a picking slip, seeing, okay, which boxes are being picked or which types of goods are being picked. So you can observing me
Oh, so
loading the
meaning
truck
meaning that as an auditor, I will have to go on site.
on site. Exactly. That is observation.
Okay. Okay. Now thank you. I get
So
you.
inspection we are expecting documents or the system. Whether
Something something that
yeah,
has already been done.
yeah, maybe minutes of the board of the directors, maybe the system itself, or maybe the invoices, right? That is inspection. Or any other documents. That is inspection. Okay. Then inquiry. Inquiry, we are confirming with someone. We are calling someone, for example, via the phone or through a letter, something like that, or through an email, or through whatever means of communication that we can use to talk to communicate with someone so that we can ask if this is the condition that our client is claiming it is. That is inquiring. Okay.
Okay.
So
No, no, I
yes.
get you. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So that is about test of control. So our record is going to be long. So let's for today, let's stop it here. Then we continue next time with the second question. Then we go on like that.
Okay. No, I think I mean I'm not sure. Do we have the